Namaskar, good evening viewers. It's 9 p.m. time for the news on Sansad TV. I'm Bhawna Nayar. In the next half an hour, we'll take you through all the important developments from the national and international arena. First up, as always, the headlines this Monday evening. Army issues notification for recruitment under Agnipad scheme. Registration to start from July. Online registration mandatory for candidates on Army's recruitment website. Prime Minister unveils rail projects worth 27,000 crore in Karnataka. Inaugurates Centre for Brain Research in Bengaluru. Projects aimed at benefiting ease of living and ease of doing business. Home Minister underscores need for cyber crime safe India. Asserts that people being empowered by the Digital India program at the National Conference on Cyber and National Security. Security forces in the valley kill 7 terrorists in separate encounters. Search operation continues. Large quantity of weapons recovered. Northeastern states reel under monsoon fury. 33 out of 35 districts in Assam in the grip of floods. Flood toll rises to 72. And a quick look now for some more speed news. Gopal Krishna Gandhi declines to be opposition candidate for presidential election, third person to rule himself out of the reckoning. Government notifies appointment of Chief Justices in the High Courts of Uttarakhand, Telangana, Himachal Pradesh, Rajasthan and Guwahati. India and Bangladesh hold 7th round of Joint Consultative Commission in New Delhi. Jaishankar and his Bangladesh counterpart welcome strengthening of bilateral ties. Health Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia to lead International Yoga Day celebrations from the Statue of Unity in Kevadia, Gujarat. Statue of Unity will be one of the 75 iconic sites to mark the day. Tourism and Culture Minister G. Kishan Reddy urges political parties not to politicize Agnipad scheme, tells youth not to be swayed by politics and rumours. Bangladesh Foreign Minister Dr. A.K. Abdul Momen calls on Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu. Naidu lauds Sheikh Hasina's zero-tolerance policy against terrorism. Garib Kalyan Rozgar Abhiyan GKRA completes 2 years. Launched in 2020, GKRA was aimed at boosting job opportunities for migrant workers during COVID pandemic. NASA mission to study asteroid Psyche all set to launch on August 1st with gold, nickel and iron deposits. 18 Psyche worth many times more than Earth's economy. India ends campaign with third place finish after loss to Netherlands in FIH Pro Hockey League. Netherlands pull off 2-1 win against India. And India's Jehan Daruwala to test Formula 1 car for first time with McLaren, who are 8-time Constructors winner in F1. And now the big story of the day. The Indian Army has issued a notification for recruitment of soldiers under the Agnipad military recruitment scheme. Online registration on the Indian Army's recruitment website is mandatory for all job aspirants. It will commence from July. The Army said Agniveers would form a distinct rank in the Indian Army, which would be different from any other existing ranks. Agniveers would also be barred from disclosing classified information gained during the 4-year service period under the Official Secrets Act 1923. Enrollment of soldiers in the regular cadre of the Indian Army, except technical cadre of medical branch, will be carried out after completing their 4-year tenure as Agniveers. The Agnipad scheme provides for recruitment of youth between 17.5 years to 21 for 4 years. There is a provision to retain 25% for 15 more years. The government has extended the upper age limit to 23 years in 2022. Prime Minister Narendra Modi laid foundation stones for rail and road infrastructure projects worth over Rs 27,000 crore in Karnataka. These projects include the Bengaluru suburban railway projects and 6 national highway projects in Karnataka. Prime Minister Modi said the Bengaluru suburban railway project will transform the city's infrastructure and boost economic activity. He added that his government is committed to providing better connectivity in every part of the country.
8 साल पहले की तुलना में बिल्कुल अलग है। भारतीय रेल अब तेज भी हो रही है स्वच्छ भी हो रही है, आधुनिक भी हो रही है, सुरक्षित भी हो रही है और सिटीजन फ्रेंडली भी हो रही है। हमने देश के उन हिस्सों में भी रेल को पहुंचाया है जहां इसके बारे में कभी सोचना भी मुश्किल था।
The Prime Minister also inaugurated the 280 crore rupee Centre for Brain Research Centre at the Indian Institute of Science in Bengaluru. He also laid the foundation stone for the 832-bedded Bagchi Parthasarthi Multi-Speciality Hospital. Prime Minister Modi inaugurated the new campus of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar School of Economics University in Bengaluru. He also unveiled the statue of Dr. Ambedkar installed at the campus. He also dedicated to the nation 150 industrial training institutes that have been upgraded into technology hubs across Karnataka. Developed for over rupees 4,700 crore, the Technology Hubs initiative is supported by many industry partners. It aims to create a skilled workforce to address Industry 4.0 manpower needs. On a two-day visit to Karnataka, Prime Minister Modi launched various development projects in Mysuru. He laid the foundation stone of coaching terminal at Nagnahalli station in Mysuru. He also dedicated to the nation the Centre of Excellence for Persons with Communication Disorders at All India Institute of Speech and Hearing in Mysuru. In his address, the Prime Minister asserted that his government strengthened social justice by ensuring last-mile delivery.
बैंकों से आसान ऋण उपलब्ध करा रहे हैं। आपको भी ये जानकर अच्छा लगेगा कि मुद्रा योजना के तहत कर्नाटका के लाखों छोटे उद्यमियों को 1,80,000 करोड़ रुपए से अधिक लोन दिया गया है।
Moving on, a cyber-secure India is crucial for development of the nation, Home Minister Amit Shah said on Monday. He stated that cybersecurity is integral to national security. Addressing the National Conference on Cyber Safety and National Security in Delhi, Amit Shah said that digital technology has reached the grassroots and if cybersecurity is not enforced, it will become a huge challenge. He asserted that it is the vision of the Prime Minister Modi that every Indian should empower themselves through technology and internet. The Home Minister added that Digital India program has empowered the people of India and provided internet access to everyone.
कितनी बड़ी चुनौती बनने वाली है। साइबर क्राइम रिपोर्टिंग पोर्टल हमने 3 साल पहले लॉन्च किया। अब तक 11 लाख से ज्यादा कंप्लेन अलग अलग प्रकार की रजिस्टर की गई और सोशल मीडिया क्राइम की कंप्लेनें भी 2 लाख से ज्यादा रजिस्टर्ड की गई और ये मात्रा दिन प्रतिदिन बढ़ने वाली है।
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh released the 11th edition of military annual book Brahman Vishwa Raksha 2022. The book has been brought out by BrahMos Aerospace. Congress leaders called on the president to raise the issue of alleged police misbehavior with party MPs during the protest against the Agnipad scheme and the ED's questioning of Rahul Gandhi. Voting has been completed for 10 seats of the Maharashtra Legislative Council. All the eligible MLAs exercised their franchise. Market regulator SEBI has constituted an advisory committee on hybrid securities that will make recommendations to promote the development of such instruments. 12,781 new cases of COVID were reported in the last 24 hours. After 130 days, the daily infection rate has crossed 4%. A cable car got stuck in mid-air on the Timber Trail ropeway in Parwanu, Himachal Pradesh. All the 15 people were evacuated safely. On the eve of Yoga Day, WHO said people should consider linking yoga with community-based mental health and wellness initiatives. The organization has called for promoting physical activity and mental health. 7 terrorists were gunned down in the past 24 hours in Jammu and Kashmir. 3 were killed in 2 separate encounters with security forces in Kashmir on Monday. 2 terrorists were killed in North Kashmir's Kupwara district. Police recovered arms and ammunition from the spot. An unidentified militant was killed in another encounter in Pulwama. The encounter broke out during a cordon and search operation in the area, a police official said.
अर्ली मॉर्निंग एक और पाकिस्तानी टेररिस्ट मारा गया, उसके साथ में एक लोकल टेररिस्ट शौकत अहमद शेख जो शोपियान डिस्ट्रिक्ट में मारा गया है। उसके अलावा पुलवामा डिस्ट्रिक्ट में लोकल एलटी का एक टेररिस्ट मारा गया और कुलगाम डिस्ट्रिक्ट में एक जैश मोहम्मद का लोकल टेररिस्ट एक एलटी का मारा गया। तो टोटल अभी तक में 7 टेररिस्ट मारे गए, जिसमें 3 एफटी पाकिस्तानी और 4 लोकल टेररिस्ट हैं।
Now let us take a look at some stories from the world of business and economy. Turning to stock market action now, the BSE Sensex gained 0.46%, while the NSE Nifty gained 0.37%, with Hindustan Unilever, HDFC, Wipro and Ultratech Cement among top gainers. Tata Steel, IndusLand Bank, Reliance Industries were among the top losers in today's trade. In Asia, markets in Tokyo, Seoul and Shanghai settled lower, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index recorded marginal gains. Japan's benchmark Nikkei 225 slid 0.7%, while South Korea's Kospi dropped 2%. At the ongoing Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Rwanda, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson expressed hope that the draft India-UK Free Trade Agreement (FTA) will be ready by Diwali in October. He asserted that the proposed trade deal will be the biggest yet in the post-Brexit context. Both sides are in the midst of the 4th round of talks. The focus of the FTA negotiations is on reducing the barriers to trade, cutting tariffs and boosting exports. US has agreed to help Pakistan negotiate a deal with the IMF for the revival of the country's economic bailout program. As the largest shareholder, the US has considerable influence over the IMF's decision-making. Cash-strapped Pakistan has faced growing economic challenges, with the Pakistani rupee plunging to a record low of over Rs 211 against the US dollar on Monday. Europe's natural gas crisis isn't letting up. Customers face expensive fuel bills. They are forced to come up with ways to cope, and that means giving up vehicles and going back to public transport. Here is a report.
At a gas station near the airport in the German city of Cologne, the digits quickly climb on the pump: €22, €23, €24. The numbers showing the gasoline are rising too, but painfully slowly. Pensioners in Germany are talking of getting rid of the cars. Across the globe, drivers are rethinking their habits and personal finances amid skyrocketing prices for gasoline and diesel, fueled by Russia's war in Ukraine and the global rebound from the COVID-19 pandemic. Energy prices are driving inflation worldwide and making the cost of living more expensive. Oil is priced in dollars, so if a country is an energy importer, the exchange rate plays a role. The recently weaker euro has helped push up gasoline prices in Europe. And then there is the war in Ukraine. Buyers shunning Russian barrels and Western sanctions on Russian oil have jolted energy markets. In Germany, people pay around $7.50 a gallon. The government has cut taxes by 35 euro cents a litre on gasoline and 17% on diesel, but prices are rising again. Germany also introduced a discounted €9 monthly ticket for public transportation, which meant crowded stations and trains on a recent holiday weekend. But the program is only for 3 months and of little use to people in the countryside who have no train station nearby. In fact, people are pumping just as much gas as they did before the pandemic. So is there any relief in sight for Europe? Analysts say some Russian oil is almost certain to be lost to German markets because the European Union, Russia's biggest and closest customer, has pledged to end most purchases from Moscow within 6 months. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And time now for all the main developments from the Russia-Ukraine war front. European Union Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell has called Russia's blockade of the export of millions of tons of Ukraine grain a war crime. Arriving in Luxembourg for the EU foreign ministers' meeting, he said one cannot imagine that millions of tons of wheat remain blocked in Ukraine while in the rest of the world people are suffering hunger. Leaders of the 27-nation European Union will discuss European Commission's recommendation that Ukraine becoming a candidate for membership. Ukrainian President Zelensky called the coming week historic when the recommendations is taken up. The war has increased pressure on EU governments to fast-track Ukraine's candidacy, but the process is expected to take years. Zelensky also said Kyiv is expecting increased Russian hostilities this week. He added that one should expect greater hostile activity from Russia not only against Ukraine, but also against other European countries. He said Ukraine is also warning partners. Ukraine's forces in the eastern city of Severodonetsk are holding their positions even as fighting rages almost around the clock, Luhansk governor has said. He alleged that Russia is regularly using prohibited ammunition, while adding that Russian troops now control most residential areas. Germany will host a meeting on the food crisis caused by the war in Ukraine. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken will be among those attending. The gathering on Friday under the title Uniting for Global Food Security will address looming shortages caused by the conflict. Russia has asked Lithuania immediately to lift a ban on the transit of goods to the Russian exclave of Kaliningrad. The Russian Foreign Ministry told the Lithuanian envoy in Moscow that if the cargo transit Lithuania was not restored, Moscow would respond to protect its interest. Local officials claim Ukrainian troops have broken Russian forces' first line of defense in the Kherson. An aide to the governor of Kherson said Ukrainian forces were advancing in the delta of the Dnieper River and has destroyed Russian military stores in Nova Kakhovka. And time now for some more global updates. Scores of people have died in landslides, lightning strikes and flash floods across India and Bangladesh in the past week. Northeastern India and northern Bangladesh have been particularly badly hit by severe weather, which has prompted some of the worst flooding in the recent years.
The start of monsoons in the subcontinent has badly hit northeastern India. This is also impacting low-lying lands in Bangladesh. Millions of homes are lying underwater and the transport links have been severed. Many of the important connecting roads are severely damaged, dangerously submerged or washed away completely. Flights are suspended at the only airport in Sylhet that lies on the bank of the Surma River. The topography of Bangladesh is predominantly made of low-lying plains and several downstream ridges, which is why monsoons every year trigger flash floods from upstream in the northeastern India whenever it rains heavily. That also makes Bangladesh a country of 160 million people prone to floods and cyclones. Climate change has only worsened the situation. The UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change estimates that about 17% people in Bangladesh would need to be relocated over the next decade if global warming persists at the present rate. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And now news from across the world. In a major setback, French President Emmanuel Macron lost control of the National Assembly in legislative elections on Sunday. Macron's centrist Ensemble coalition that went to raise the retirement age and deepen EU integration was on course to end up with most seats in Sunday's election. Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire called the outcome a democratic shock and said they would reach out to all pro-Europeans to help govern the country. Gustavo Petro, a former rebel fighter who had promised profound social and economic change, has won Colombia's presidency. The victory in Sunday's presidential runoff election will make Petro Colombia's first left-wing president. He won 50.4% of the vote, while his rival Rodolfo Hernandez, a construction magnate, had 47.3%. During his victory speech, Petro stressed that his government will focus on the fight against climate change. In yet another shooting incident in the United States, one minor was killed and 3 others, including a cop, were injured on Monday in Washington, D.C. The incident took place at a music event on U Street, a location that is just less than 2 miles from the White House. The hunt for the suspect is on. Hundreds of protesters gathered in Islamabad on Sunday to rally against high prices and the current government. The protest was called for by former Prime Minister Imran Khan. The protesters demanded immediate elections and removal of the current ruling coalition of Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. China's insistence on a zero-COVID strategy that calls for millions of testing almost every day is now posing a new trash challenge. The exercise has left bins bursting with medical waste that has become the environmental and economic levy of a zero-COVID strategy. Each positive case, typically a few dozen a day nationwide, unspools a trail of used test kits, face masks, and personal protective gear. For the first time in 2 years after the pandemic, Stonehenge will host a celebration of the summer solstice. The ancient monument is a focal point for spiritual rituals on the longest day of the year in the Northern Hemisphere. Here's a report.
On June 21st at 10:13 British Standard Time, this iconic stone circle will be at the center of pagan and druid ceremonies. Ancient humans built Stonehenge in Wiltshire in about 2500 BC, and it is at this time of the year that its purpose can truly be appreciated. Crowds will be drawn to the site on June 21st to witness a special sunrise phenomenon.
So Stonehenge is designed and built to celebrate and acknowledge both the summer and the winter solstices. The monument itself, the stone circle, is designed so perfectly that at midsummer, when the sun rises, the rays of the sun, they come across the horizon and they strike precisely straight down the middle of the Stonehenge monument, as precisely as if we had designed it in the 2020s with the most space age instruments available, but this was designed, 5,000 years ago.
The solstice is the highlight of the year for thousands of pagans, druids and revelers. Some people come here as they believe the circle has spiritual significance. For English heritage, there is a balance to be struck between protecting this UNESCO World Heritage Site and respecting deeply held spiritual beliefs. It had viewers from as far away as Peru and even Australia. So there is clearly something about the stones that captures attention the world over.
It's still quite enigmatic, and people take away from it different things. For some people, they really believe it is a place of worship. Other people just marvel at its construction and everything and are interested in the archaeology. And then I think, it goes back to the human condition. It sort of relates to everyone, really.
On the summer solstice, the sun will reach its highest point in the sky. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And time now for all the sporting action. Defending Rishabh Pant, who had an ordinary T20I series against South Africa with the bat, Team India head coach Rahul Dravid has said that Pant remains as an integral part of India's batting lineup with the power he has and what he can do. Dravid further said Pant has played some good knocks and of course, personally though, he would have liked to score a few more runs, but it is not that concerning. Pant, Dravid says, is certainly part of India's plans going in the next few months. Talking about football now, France international Kylian Mbappe has accused the president of the French Football Federation, FFF, of ignoring racist abuse after his penalty miss at Euro 2020. The Paris Saint-Germain star's decisive spot kick against Switzerland was saved in the last 16 shootout, resulting in the world's champion exiting the tournament. The 23-year-old was vilified on social media by furious fans and even considered quitting the national team as a result. In golf now, Matt Fitzpatrick of England has won this year's third major, the US Open, on Sunday, in a three-way battle at Brooklyn that came down to the wire. Fitzpatrick seized control with a great break and even better shot on the 15th hole for two-shot swing. Fitzpatrick finished at 6 under 274. He won $3.15 million in prize money. In Formula One now, world champion Max Verstappen increased his lead in this year's Formula One title race on Sunday when he drove his Red Bull to a thrilling victory in a closely fought Canadian Grand Prix. The 24-year-old Dutchman controlled a tactical race from pole position through 3 safety car interventions and resisted intense late pressure from Ferrari's Carlos Sainz to win by under a second. In tennis now, world number 1 Daniil Medvedev lost his second straight ATP grass court final when he was brushed aside by Poland's Hubert Hurkacz in Halle. Medvedev has few answers as he crashed to a 1-6, 4-6 defeat inside 64 minutes. Medvedev was so frustrated with the way the final was progressing that he even screamed at his coach during an on-court outburst. And before we wrap, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Army issues notification for recruitment under Agnipad scheme. Registration to start from July. Online registration mandatory for candidates on Army's recruitment website. Prime Minister unveils rail projects worth 27,000 crore in Karnataka. Inaugurates Centre for Brain Research in Bengaluru. Projects aimed at benefiting ease of living and ease of doing business. Home Minister underscores need for cyber crime safe India, asserts that people being empowered by the Digital India program at the National Conference on Cyber and National Security. Security forces in the valley kill 7 terrorists in separate encounters. Search operation continues. Large quantity of weapons recovered. Northeastern states reel under monsoon fury. 33 out of 35 districts in Assam in the grip of floods. Flood toll rises to 72. And that's all we have in this bulletin. To keep yourself updated, stay tuned to Sansad TV. Till then, goodbye, namaskar.